This is the QTV Nightly News, which is also on Key Radio 103.3 FM, and I am Jacqueline Coley. Thank you for joining us. Here are the headlines. At a historic event on Saturday, presided over by Vice President Mohamed B.S. Jallow, the government of the Gambia, in collaboration with the ECOWAS Commission, has launched the National Misinformation and Disinformation Response Center in the country. Speaking on Wednesday in New York at the United Nations Peace Building Commission, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dauda A. Jallow, said the country is still unable to fully identify human remains exhumed 6 years ago due to limited forensic capacity in the Gambia. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dauda A. Jallow, recently informed the United Nations Peace Building Commission in New York that the Gambia needs an estimated $150 million to fully implement the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission TRRC recommendations. The governments of the Gambia and Cuba are celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Cuban Medical Brigade's presence in the Gambia, highlighting decades of strong cooperation, especially in the health sector. On Friday, the FAO, together with the African Risk Capacity Group, held a validation forum on gender integration in disaster risk management and climate change adaptation in the Gambia. Those were the headlines, now the news in detail. At a historic event on Saturday, presided over by Vice President Mohamed B.S. Jallow, the Gambia government, in collaboration with the ECOWAS Commission, has launched the National Misinformation and Disinformation Response Center, an artificial intelligence-driven platform aimed at tackling the spread of false information. As Manisonyase reports.
The launch of the National Misinformation and Disinformation Response Center, the first of its kind in the sub-region, was described by the Gambia's Vice President as a clear demonstration of the government's commitment to transparency and accountability. He urged citizens to actively use the platform to verify information and help curb the spread of misinformation.
President Barrow's government has chosen a different path, not control but clarity, not censorship but truth. That is the principle at the heart of the NMDRC. This center does not exist to tell Gambians what to believe. It exists to give every Gambian, regardless of where you live, what they earn, or who they support politically, access to the same verified facts.
Minister of Information Dr. Ismaila Ceesay reaffirmed the government's support for the center, while ECOWAS Commission President Dr. Omar Aliu Toure emphasized that misinformation remains a major driver of insecurity across the region.
A single misleading audio message on WhatsApp can influence entire communities. A manipulated video can damage reputations within hours. False narratives can erode public trust in institutions that we have worked hard to rebuild in our democratic transition.
The impact of disinformation extends far beyond individual elections. It undermines trust in government, security forces, independent media, and ECOWAS-backed initiatives.
Citing the growing threat misinformation poses to public trust and national discourse, Kodu El Jabang, the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Information, said the center will provide Gambians with a free and reliable tool to verify information, strengthening access to accurate data.
It is a dedicated, technology-driven, government-backed infrastructure for protecting the integrity of the public and public information. That is what we are proudly unveiling this morning.
The platform was developed by Dundal Systems, a locally led tech firm. Its CEO and lead architect, Amran Gay, showcased its capabilities at the launch, noting that while the digital age has expanded access to information, it has also increased the spread of false content. He assured that the system is secure and can detect and verify information in real time and is free from government interference concerns. He also told QTV that plans are underway to promote the platform through upcoming public engagement activities.
So we have a couple of things. First of all, we're establishing an observatory, information observatory, that will be housed within the ministry. So they will keep the day-to-day running of the system whilst the AI makes the decisions. Yes. And then the second part of sustainability is we're going to do nationwide education. So we'll be on the community radios, we'll be on all of those places, because to us, those people are the most at risk.
The National Misinformation and Disinformation Response Center, entirely developed by Gambian experts, marks a major milestone in the country's digital and information governance landscape. Ansmane Sonyasi for KTV News.
Speaking on Wednesday in New York at the United Nations Peace Building Commission, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dauda A. Jallow, said the country is still unable to fully identify human remains exhumed 6 years ago due to limited forensic capacity in the Gambia. Here is an excerpt from the proceedings.
Justice and accountability component that we are talking about, we do not have forensic capacity in the whole country in the Gambia. I mean, we have done some exhumations, for example, during the Truth Commission phase, and now that we have appointed a special prosecutor, further investigations will take place. Now, some of the remains, human remains we have exhumed in the last 6-7 years are still not being forensically analyzed and identified. We have suspected burial sites that we expect to exhume as we move now very closer to justice and accountability. We do not have forensic capability in the country.
The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dauda A. Jallow, recently informed the United Nations Peace Building Commission in New York that the Gambia needs an estimated $150 million to fully implement the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission TRRC recommendations. He cautioned that despite progress in reforms and institutions, funding gaps could slow down the country's transitional justice process. This report was compiled by Usman Jata.
The cost estimate to implement the recommendations of the TRRC is approximately $150 million, of which significant portions remains unfunded. To give this Peace Building Commission a concrete sense of what is at stake, the operationalization of the Hybrid Special Tribunal alone is estimated to require approximately $60 million over a 5 years period.
That was Dauda A. Jallow, the Gambia's Attorney General and Minister of Justice, addressing the United Nations Peace Building Commission in New York on the country's transitional justice funding outlook. The government has maintained its commitment to implementing the recommendations of the TRRC since publishing its white paper in May 2022, outlining steps towards accountability, reconciliation, and institutional reform.
According to the National Human Rights Commission, mandated to monitor and report on the implementation of the TRRC recommendations, the government of the Gambia has 3 years into the implementation phase fully implemented 48 out of 263 recommendations, commenced implementation of another 133 recommendations, and yet to commence implementation of 92 recommendations. We are committed to accelerating this pace and improving communication with victims, their communities.
Minister Jallow also highlighted the urgent need to support the Reparations Commission of the country.
The Victims Reparation Commission requires sustained deposit into the Reparations Fund. The government has to date allocated 40 million Gambian dollars towards the fund and another 20 million for the operation of the Reparations Commission. But the scale of need across victims categories is considerably larger, and indicative figures for full delivery are still being costed as the Commission builds its national victims database.
The Gambia's transitional justice agenda extends beyond reparations. The government developed key legal instruments such as special accountability mechanism to guide prosecutions and ensure justice.
The National Assembly passed the Ban from Public Office TRRC Act November 2023, the Special Accountability Mechanism Act in April 2024, the Special Prosecutor's Office Act in April 2024, and in partnership with ECOWAS, a hybrid tribunal, the Special Tribunal for the Gambia was also created.
Despite some progress, the success of the country's transitional justice process cannot be fully achieved without the support of development partners, with Minister Jallow calling for both financial and technical assistance.
We appeal to the member states and partners to consider concrete financial and technical contributions, particularly for the operationalization of the Hybrid Special Tribunal and the Operations Program, and the reparations program.
In a virtual contribution, Emmanuel Daniel Juve, chairman of the Gambia's National Human Rights Commission, echoed the minister's concerns and commended the progress made so far in the country's transitional justice process. The Gambia's transitional justice process continues to move forward, but officials say full implementation of the TRRC recommendations will depend on sustained financial support from partners. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jacqueline Collie. The governments of the Gambia and Cuba are marking a major milestone in the 30th anniversary of the Cuban Medical Brigade's presence in the Gambia, highlighting decades of strong cooperation, especially in the health sector. Yafatu Gay spoke to Cuba's ambassador and a member of the Medical Brigade, and she tells us more.
For 3 decades, Cuban doctors and health professionals have played a vital role in strengthening the Gambia's healthcare system. Their contributions span clinical service delivery, capacity building, and the training of Gambian medical personnel. The partnership has helped bridge critical gaps in the Gambia's healthcare access, especially in underserved rural communities. Cuba's ambassador to the Gambia, Her Excellency Carmelina Ramirez Rodriguez, highlighted the profound impact of the long-standing relationship.
So for us, actually it's a celebration because it's a good to know that we contributed to improve the standards and the health condition of the population in Gambia.
Dr. Ahmed Gutierrez Rama, a member of the Cuban medical team, shared insights into what motivates Cuban professionals to serve the Gambia.
I think that the most important achievement for us here is our presence in the far communities. Cuban doctors are working in Bansan, Base, Farafeni, Biam, Soma, all of these far regions that the medical doctors and the technicians and our nurses are most important by their presence there.
Reflecting on the mission's achievements, Dr. Gutierrez pointed to improved patient outcomes, expanded access to specialized care, and the successful training of Gambian healthcare workers as one of the most rewarding milestones.
We are professors also. We participate in the medical assistance of the patients and also in the same way in the formation of the medical students in the community also. Those students don't have to come here to the Combo or Banjul or the other Francis for do their practice.
Ambassador Rodriguez further stressed that the bilateral relationship goes beyond healthcare services. She highlighted Cuba's role in supporting medical education in the Gambia, particularly its contribution to the establishment of the School of Medicine at the University of the Gambia. The institution recently celebrated the graduation of its first batch of dentists, marking another significant achievement in national capacity building.
I remember the Vice Chancellor of the university say, when people used to say, no, it's not possible, we can't do it. Cuba say, yeah, we are here and we will help you and we will work with you.
Looking ahead, the Cuban government has expressed its commitment to deepening collaboration with the Gambia. Both countries are expected to explore new areas of partnership, reinforcing a relationship built on solidarity, mutual respect, and shared development goals. Reporting for QTV News, this is Yafatu Gay.
We will now go for a commercial break. When we return, we have more national news stories. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching QTV News and I'm Jacqueline Collie. Now on Friday, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, together with the African Risk Capacity Group, held a validation forum on gender integration in disaster risk management and climate change adaptation in the Gambia as part of efforts to push for gender equality in climate action. Mam Nabuka has the rest of that story.
The initiative brought together representatives from government institutions, civil society organizations, women-led groups, development partners, and technical experts to present and validate the findings of a comprehensive gender analysis that was conducted in disaster risk management and climate change sectors, as well as review a proposed gender action plan to push for all-encompassing climate actions that will build more inclusive and resilient communities in the Gambia. Climate change impacts in the Gambia are not felt equally. While erratic rainfall, floods, and rising sea levels affect the whole country, gender disparities place a heavier burden on women. Limited access to land, finance, and climate-smart tools reduces their ability to recover and rebuild after disasters, making them more vulnerable to environmental shocks. Today's Validation Forum marks a critical turning point in addressing these inequities by working to integrate gender-sensitive strategies into the country's disaster risk management and climate change adaptation frameworks. Here is Dr. Mustafa Sise, representative of the FAO.
These frameworks provide a solid foundation for inclusive and resilient development. Yet, as we all recognize, implementation remains a challenge, particularly in translating policy commitment into actions, especially gender-responsive actions. Women play a critical role in agriculture, household food security, and community resilience. This makes gender equality not only a social imperative, but a strategic necessity for effective disaster risk management and for climate actions.
Following the validation and review of the analysis and proposed action plan, a 3-day training will take place from the 27th to the 29th of April to further push for capacity building and enhance the understanding of the significance of gender in disaster risk management and climate change adaptation. Ndaifatu Job, Deputy Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources, welcomes the initiative.
Gender integration in disaster reduction and climate change adaptation is not an add-on, but it is the foundation for effective, equitable, and sustainable solutions. By ensuring that women, men, and the vulnerable groups are equally represented in decision-making, we are not only protecting lives, but empowering communities to thrive in the face of uncertainty. I invite each of you to engage fully, challenge assumptions, and contribute your insights as the work we do here today ripples outwards. It is what informs policies, shapes programs, and ultimately safeguards our future.
The forum's anticipated success is expected to open up paths to a future where national policies reflect the lived realities of all Gambians and creates a more stable and resilient nation in the face of an uncertain climate. Mamna Buka, reporting for QTV News.
The University of the Gambia Faculty and Staff Association has participated in a training session aimed at strengthening members' understanding of labor laws, access to information ATI, and the functions of the Ombudsman. Mamadou Gajaga has the details.
The event is themed promoting transparency, accountability, and fair labor practices. According to the organizers, the forum aims to strengthen participants' understanding of key legal and institutional frameworks governing rights, responsibilities, and administrative processes. Yoron Jai is the president of the UTG Staff Association.
The objective of the seminar is to help capacitize or enlighten our staff on their roles and responsibilities, the labor law or the legislative that governs their responsibilities as staff and public service officers. This training is very important that every public service should understand their responsibilities as well as their rights, because if you are fighting for your rights, you also have to understand your responsibility.
The training is expected to equip staff and faculty members with the knowledge of their rights under the Labor Act, as well as how to access information through the Information Commission under the new Access to Information ATI law. Professor Mohamed Mustafa Fane, chairman of the UTG Governing Council, says capacity building for staff should be an ongoing process, given its importance.
Let this seminar not end as an event, but continue as a movement towards informed engagement, towards shared responsibility, and towards a stronger and more accountable university. I commend the association for this initiative and reaffirm the unwavering commitment of the Governing Council to support efforts that promote capacity, fairness, and institutional strengthening.
The Faculty and Staff Association hopes the initiative will help create a more informed and proactive workforce, ultimately improving the working environment and strengthening governance at the University of the Gambia. William Jabang, the Chief Director of Operations at the University of the Gambia, says the development of the university depends on the collective efforts of its various stakeholders.
That this discussion will look at both responsibilities, it will also look at the rights that we all have as employees of the university. And I have no doubt that the resource persons that have been invited here today will do just that. And all of this the aim is to see how best we move the university from where it is to the next level.
With improved understanding of legal protections and reporting mechanisms, members are better equipped to advocate for fair treatment, resolve disputes, and contribute to an accountable academic environment. Mamudu Gajaga, QTV News.
The National Cancer Control Program under the Ministry of Health brought together civil society stakeholders for a roundtable dialogue to strengthen national efforts in cancer prevention and control. More in this report. The engagement brought together CSOs and partners including Bankers Association and the Gambia Armed Forces, among others, to foster collaboration and enhance coordinated action in fighting against cancer. According to the Gambia's government's Cancer Control Strategy 2024 to 2029, in 2020, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC, estimates on cancer incidence and mortality in the Gambia was that there were approximately 1,035 new cancer diagnoses, 575 cases among females, and 460 cases in men. In terms of mortality, it was estimated that 810 died from cancer in the Gambia in 2020, with 395 among males and 415 among females. The consultation supports the implementation of the National Cancer Control Strategy, aimed at mobilizing national efforts to reduce the cancer burden through prevention, early detection, treatment, and care. Dr. Keba S. Bojang, Program Manager at NCCP, emphasized the important role civil society organizations can play in supporting the fight against cancer.
CSOs contribute significantly to controlling cancer by filling gaps, educating communities, and sharing public policies and supporting patients and their families, and to also hold stakeholders accountable.
By strengthening the partnerships between the NCCP and civil society organizations, the program seeks to broaden awareness, enhance outreach, and ensure cancer prevention messages reach grassroots communities effectively. Ndai Sering Bakurin, Executive Director of Tango, emphasized the role of CSOs in amplifying government efforts and addressing gaps in public knowledge about cancer and its risks.
We are the foot soldiers when it comes to cancer. Government provide the enabling environment, provide the policies. We advocate for those policies. We participate in the implementation. And we, as Gambia and people living in the Gambia, we know that cancer is a health issue and it affects all of us.
Dr. Ifeanyi Levinus, WHO Emergency Team Lead, and Abu Mas, Program Manager of the National Trauma and Injury Program at the Ministry of Health, highlighted the dangers of cancer, its economic impact based on available statistics, and the importance of involving civil society organizations in the response.
In the Gambia, cancer is no longer rare or distant. It is present in our communities and affecting families across the country. Each year, an estimated 1,196 new cases are diagnosed and 899 lives are lost. Too often, these outcomes are linked to late diagnosis, limited early detection, and gaps in access to timely care.
That the population has trust in the CSOs.
They have been into cancer services, but there were duplication of efforts. Now having all the CSOs together is another force to fight this thing.
Organizers further stressed that closer collaborations with civil society organizations will help close gaps in information sharing and service delivery, leading to a more inclusive and effective national response to cancer. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jacqueline Collie. That's all we have for this edition of the QTV News. Join us tomorrow at 8 p.m. for the Weekend Review with Mahmoud Mboj and Usman Jata. Many thanks for joining us and bye.